Hello Musketeers, welcome to Mondays with Mickey. My name is Mike Knigge, I'm your host, and this week we're going to talk about the D23 Expo out in Anaheim, California. For those of you who are not aware of what the D23 Expo is, it is Disney's premium biannual, meaning every other year, event. It's where they talk about everything coming up for the Walt Disney Company, from their parks and resorts, to their movies, to their video games. They induct their Disney legends at these events. They have celebrities galore, not to mention Imagineers all over the place. It's where everything you want to know about the next few years for the Walt Disney Company to kind of get you hyped up, that's what happens. This year, they obviously have Marvel involved, they have Star Wars involved, a lot going on, and, the convention floor is filled with, people cosplaying. It's essentially Comic-Con on crack. With Marvel being involved, I guess that makes perfect sense. So this week we're going to go over some of the rumors we talked about last week that were coming up to this event, things we want to know, and see if they confirm or deny some rumors, or even maybe surprise us with some stuff. But the first thing on the list we're going to talk about is Club 33 at the Walt Disney World Resort. Now, in Disneyland, it is a very exclusive club, and we wanted to know if it was going to be just as exclusive here, or if it was going to be more of a premium dining type service. And unfortunately, they didn't even talk about Club 33. So it's one of those things we're just going to have to kind of wait and see, unfortunately. But, that's okay, because next up on our list is another rumor, which was Monsters, Inc. Land. Now, this wasn't even brought up at all, so this could just be rumor. So they didn't deny it, but they didn't confirm it. So, again, one of those things we're just going to have to wait and see and see if it comes to fruition. Next up is the Disney Cruise Line. As you can see, we have all the Disney Cruise Line ships there, plus 2 Phantom ships. Well, this is concept artwork from several months ago when they announced that they were building 2 new ships for the fleet. Well, at the D23 Expo, they decided to throw us a curveball. They're not building 2 new ships, they're building 3. And these things are going to be huge compared to the others. So those are supposed to be completed by 2023. So everyone start looking at it, because Disney Cruise Line is fantastic. And these new ships, I'm sure, are going to be amazing and beautiful. Next up is a transportation service that has just started at the Walt Disney World Resort. As a matter of fact, I saw pictures today of it being run around. It is the minivans. Yes, the little cars look like Minnie Mouse dresses. It is essentially an Uber-like service at the Walt Disney Company to try to help expand their transportation options. Speaking of transportation options, the monorail was something that we were really hoping to hear about, maybe getting refurbished or possibly replaced, especially since Siemens offered us a brand new fleet of the things at Walt Disney World, and Walt Disney World turned them down. So they did not announce any kind of refurbishment or replacement of the monorail system. So that doesn't mean it's not going to happen for the 50th anniversary, but they didn't talk about it at D23. But in the world of transportation, they did talk about their new Skyline, what they're calling their Skyliner service. Essentially, it is a gondola system that runs all the way from Epcot down to Art of Animation and Pop Century. Links up to Hollywood Studios, as well as a new DVC resort coming. Essentially, this is going to be a gondola system that is themed. As you can see in this picture right here, you've got Minnie Mouse, Mickey Mouse, both the classic as well as the new animation. Got the hitchhiking ghost, which I think is kind of morbid since you're hanging over the ground, but still be kind of cool. But it's going to be a new transportation service, a new transportation option. So, D23 announced those kind of general things, but let's go ahead and get into the actual parks. And we're going to start with our Magic Kingdom section here. Now, everyone was probably expecting that, the Stitch's Great Escape would go away. Guess what? Sorry. No, it's sticking around. So for those who like Stitch, we're good. But they did announce this new theater off of the Main Street. It's going to be a 20s style theater, and it's supposed to be huge. We don't know any details about what they're going to do with it, but they're adding this theater to Main Street, so we should expect some interesting things. Another thing they talked about in rumors was the Moana Mountain that was supposed to go between Pirates of the Caribbean and Jungle Cruise. Well, they said nothing about that, so doesn't mean it's not coming, but it wasn't talked about. The other rumor was that this Tomorrowland Speedway, a loved attraction for some and hated for others, was going to go away for a new Tron ride. Well, Tron is coming, but Tron is not getting rid of the Tomorrowland Speedway. As you can see in this concept art, the Tomorrowland Speedway is down in front. The Tron coaster is literally going to be put in an empty spot next to Space Mountain. So those who love the Tomorrowland Speedway, those who were terrified that the coaster was going to mess up the people mover system, never fret, it will be okay. It is all coming. Next up is the nighttime parade offerings. No new parade was announced for Walt Disney World, but they did announce that the Paint the Night parade was going to be going to DCA in California. So hopefully we'll see something soon. You know, the D23 Expo was filled with all kinds of announcements and things, especially with movies, but we're going to continue with parks, and we're going to talk about Animal Kingdom here. Animal Kingdom, there wasn't a lot. You know, they just opened Pandora, so there wasn't a need. But the talk of Zootopia Land coming to replace Rafiki's Planet Watch, that was never brought up at D23. So for those worried about losing Rafiki's Planet Watch, don't worry, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Next on our list is going to be Disney's Hollywood Studios. You know, a park that we were hoping for new branding, but they didn't talk about the new branding for Hollywood Studios. So I guess that is going to be coming up later. They did talk about the Great Movie Ride, in which, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, we are losing the Great Movie Ride, and we are getting a Mickey Mouse themed ride, in which you essentially go into a Mickey Mouse short and you're sucked into the cartoon. It's supposed to be 2.5D, as they're calling it, essentially 3D without the glasses. So it should be really interesting, and it's nice to actually have a Mickey Mouse themed ride. So with the rebranding, this should probably make sense, whatever the new branding is going to be. As you can see, I'm talking about Pixar Studios here, because what else would they talk about? They talked about Toy Story Land, and this is some of the new concept art for Toy Story Land, and it will be opening this summer. Well, next summer, technically, summer of 2018. Another thing they talked about is a hotel, a Star Wars themed hotel in which you're immersed into a storyline type deal where you're living as characters in this hotel. It is supposed to essentially back up to Hollywood Studios. They're clearing some land right now, right behind Hollywood Studios. And it's believed that this new, this new hotel will essentially open up into Star Wars land. So you'll be living a 24-hour-a-day storyline experience inside this space station next to Star Wars Land. And if you exit the space station, you'll literally exit straight into Star Wars Land. So it's like a perfect mirroring here. Expect it to probably be pretty expensive, but fantastic nonetheless. They did talk more about Star Wars Land. It is no longer going to be called Star Wars Land. It is Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It is slotted to open in 2019 still. They are confirming that the Star Wars Land in Disneyland will open first, which makes sense because it was started first. But both parks are slotted to open in 2019. So for those who have been lamenting the lack of attractions at Hollywood Studios, don't fret. We're like a year and a half away from Hollywood Studios being a whole new animal. So that's about it for Hollywood Studios. Not a lot else going on. Next up on our list, though, is Epcot. And Epcot has a lot going on. As you can see, Spaceship Earth here. So much going on. They're planning on basically reimagining the entire park. As you can see here, some of the new artwork. They're essentially trying to take a whole new look at it. You'll notice a lot of the pavilions are missing in this artwork, a lot of trees instead. I don't know how close the new version of Epcot's going to be to this, but they're really starting to plow out some new stuff for this. One of the rumors they talked about was possibly putting in a Brazil pavilion there between Germany and Italy. That is not happening, or at least it's not been announced. They also talked about possibly putting Coco in to replace the Three Caballeros in the Grand Fiesta Tour in Mexico. That was not announced. Another thing that we were all concerned about was the fact that Siemens, when they pulled out their sponsorship from Spaceship Earth and from Illuminations. As far as we know, neither Spaceship Earth or Illuminations are going to change. That was a big concern for a lot of people. No announcements were made about any changes. That said, they did say a lot was coming that they hadn't talked about, so who knows? There still could be changes on the horizon. The next thing we're going to talk about is they're getting a new movie in China. A lot of the pavilions have their 360-degree movies. China's getting a new one. They did confirm that the construction in France is going to be a Ratatouille ride, so that should be fantastic. So back out to Future World, over next to Mission Space, will be a space-themed restaurant. As you can see, kind of looks a little bit like Coral Reef, only space station-like, and probably not smelling so much like fish. So that should be opening up, in the coming years over next to Mission Space. And Mission Space itself, by the way, is getting a new video which should launch next month. The ILM helped them redo that. Next on the list is what everyone was wanting to know about, is that Ellen's Energy Adventure is in fact going away. What a surprise. But it's going away for Guardians of the Galaxy. As you can see in some of this concept art, you've got that ship from the Nova Corps out in front of the pavilion. This should be really interesting. There's no details on what the ride's going to be about. I'm sure it's going to be some kind of exploring Earth kind of thing. I know they were talking about tying in Peter Quill and his first visit to Epcot as from a Polaroid image they showed at D23. So that should be really interesting. Hopefully we'll get more details in the coming months. D23 was a fantastic event from everything I was able to see for it. There's so much that they didn't talk about, so much that they did talk about. You know, there was no talk about the Jedi Training Academy or the possibility of Disney being bought out by like Apple or whatever. But it was a great event. I hope everyone enjoyed some of the information I found on it. Please feel free to follow me, here on YouTube, Facebook at Monday W Mickey or Mr. Kniggy, Mr. Kniggy, Twitter Michael_Kniggy, or Instagram Michael.Kniggy. You can always email me. So glad you guys took the time to listen to me babble and go over all this stuff with Disney. Thank you very much for listening. Sorry it's not a video show this week. I've been under the weather and you guys wouldn't want to see me right now. So I'm going to leave you as I leave you every single week. I hope we never lose sight of one thing. This was all started by a mouse. Thank you so much for listening to me, and we'll talk to you all next week.